May you find happiness and peace, and may your home stand the test of time.
Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be reacting to another video from Kirk. Today's video is titled College Girl Says ID Card Are Racist. Affirmative action is great. So without further ado, let's get started.
So let me ask you a question. So in the CRT literature, what do they think of white people or whiteness?
Who would you like me to quote?
Kimberly Crenshaw.
I haven't read Kimberly Crenshaw.
She says that
yet.
whiteness is a cancer or a toxin on our society.
The concept of whiteness, the racial concept of whiteness.
Okay, so what is whiteness?
What is whiteness?
Yeah, define it.
As Kimberly Crenshaw would probably say, the sort of construction of privilege that comes with being white in this country.
Right, so what privilege do you and I as white people have that black people don't have?
Yeah, great question. On applications that are blindly judged, white-sounding names are often given the job more, they're paid more.
Not true. In fact, it's the opposite. There's black privilege right now. It's called affirmative action, where underqualified blacks are taking Asians and white people's places in universities across the country. True or false?
True.
Okay, so yeah, there's black privilege, not white privilege in this country.
I actually don't think affirmative action is how we address education inequality.
Okay, well that affirmative action is still largely supported by the CRT regime. But let's get back to CRT, to the essence of it.
Sure.
CRT believes in one manifestation of its ideology is black-only dormitories. So white people are not allowed. Do you believe in black-only dormitories?
No, and I don't have to agree with every aspect of an ideology to argue for it.
So then what part of CRT do you like? Because they call whiteness a toxin, black-only dormitories, and if you want to talk about like ideological or intellectual sloppiness, the 1619 Project was...
I think it's very sloppy.
Okay, we agree. Nicole Hannah-Jones.
I think it's overstated, and I think some of the parts are inaccurate.
Okay, good.
The parts of CRT that I think are most relevant and, very factually, you can, what am I trying to say? There's a lot of evidence for them, is the fact that previous inequalities, such as the institution of slavery, such as our treatment of Native Americans, do, in fact, affect those populations today. And you were saying before, in, inner cities, there's a lot more crime. And a lot of that is because of redlining and other, practices that come directly from the mistreatment of minorities previously in this country.
So I want to make sure I understand. So black people make up 13% of the American population.
Oh, 1350, my favorite.
Yes, exactly. Why do they commit 55% of all the murders?
Super great question. It's basically a very complex intersection of race and economic status. It's pretty well known that minority people tend to be in a lower economic status because of discrimination that they face.
So then why don't poor Asians commit a lot of murders?
Also a great question. Asian people weren't originally brought to America on purpose like black people, and they weren't already present here like natives.
Wait, so blacks murder because they were brought here 250 years ago?
No, I would like to finish.
Okay, just answer. It's very simple.
I am answering.
No, I know, but you're not really.
I am. Asian Americans predominantly immigrate here for work reasons. They come from already wealthy countries. They're already wealthy when they get here. Crime is committed primarily by
First of all,
poorer
that's not
people.
true. Talk to anybody from Who's Vietnamese? Anybody? Did your family come here wealthy?
No.
Yes
not
and
wealthy,
no. Okay.
but not.
Yes
I'm not
or
saying
no?
they come
No.
here. Okay.
The average Vietnamese does not come here wealthy.
I'm not. Okay. I perhaps misspoke. Not wealthy, but a lot of the, you complain about it all the time. A lot of the immigration from countries that border us, right? It's sort of desperate people who are of a lower economic status, right? And they're coming here for a better life.
So two things. Number one, there's been more blacks that have legally immigrated to this country in the last 30 years than were ever brought as slaves. That's number one. Number two, you still haven't answered the question.
I'm trying to.
Why?
It's a complicated answer.
Black people are only 13% of the population, yet they commit 55% of the murders. Why?
Because black people tend to be in lower economic statuses because of
Okay, no, this
CRT,
is fine. This is great.
Basically.
So you think that poverty equals crime?
I think that it's highly correlated, and there's a lot of studies on
this is where we
that.
disagree. What an insult to the working poor of this country.
So why do you think black people commit more crime,
Well, first of all,
Kirk?
so let me ask you a question as
No,
my
answer
answer.
it. Go on.
What percentage of blacks have a father around when they're raised?
I'm not sure.
20%.
So that's why you
80% of
think it
blacks
is.
do not have a stable father around. It is the most predictable way to end up in prison, end up as a murderer or a criminal.
And why
It's
do
not a
you think that's
racism
a problem?
It's not a white supremacy problem. It's a fact that black fathers impregnate women and they don't stay around with the women
And
that they have
why-
impregnated.
Charlie Kirk, do you think that happens more in the black community compared to others?
It's threefold. Number one, we subsidize single motherhood. Number two, it's culture. It's accepted in the black community, and it
so
shouldn't
it's
be.
culture. Okay.
Don't take my
I
word
see.
for it. Read Thomas Sowell's own book on how black culture allows single motherhood to continue into a nanny state type practice. 75% of black youth are raised without a father in the home. 75%. Is that a bigger problem or not a bigger problem than whiteness, white privilege, or white supremacy? How
They
can
should
you
all
blame?
be addressed, and they're all related.
Okay, how is a white person to blame for the fact that 75% of blacks?
Oh, individual white people aren't at all to blame.
Okay, we agree.
Yeah.
So, but wouldn't it be more like smarter to be like, hey, that this is not about systemic racism. Like, stop impregnating your women and abandoning them.
Well, the way to incentivize not impregnating women and abandoning them is increasing access to healthcare, into housing, into everything that we know increases those outcomes for people.
So we have spent $30 trillion on the social welfare system since 1965. Black people are poorer, and the single motherhood went from 25% to now 75 to 80%. So the more money we've spent on black America, the less fathers we have, because black women divorced black men and married the government.
And do you think that's a problem inherent to black people?
No, it's not. It's happening now in white communities and Hispanic communities. It's just the worst in black America.
And why do you think that is?
Why is it the worst in black America? There's also a cultural problem. There is, and we have to be honest about it.
It's just that black people are
No, let me ask you a question.
Like
The average music that a black person in Compton is listening to, is it about contemplating the good, the true, and the beautiful, or is it about being a gangbanger and trying to get as much money and sleep with about as many girls as you can?
I would actually like to think I would be offended by that.
Do you think the average black kid in
rap.
Compton is listening to Beethoven or some sort of gangster rap music that glorifies gangster culture?
Silly question. Rap wasn't created to glorify gangster culture. So even though there is
okay,
rap,
I mean,
I'm sure
you're not
that's
answering.
doing
You're
that.
dodging the question because.
Okay, I'm sure they're listening to rap.
Okay.
So you think
there
rap
go.
music makes them
No,
leave
I'm
their
not.
mom?
Do you think the cultural expectation in black America is that you stay with the woman that you impregnate?
Within black communities? I can't speak on that.
Okay, the answer is no. It's not. It's not expected.
Okay, and do you think that is...
Hold on. In white Anglo-Saxon Protestant communities, it's a
okay.
fact. Hold on. In upper middle class white communities,
Upper middle class. Say that part louder.
yeah, upper middle class white Anglo-Saxon Protestant communities, if you impregnate a woman, you are looked down upon, and we do not think highly of you if you abandon the woman that you impregnate. That's a cultural difference. Has nothing to do with money. Has nothing to do with anything except norms. And the norms that have infected black America are destroying it from within. We need more fathers, not less. We need more dads around and less drag queen story hour. We need more young blacks to be able to look up to role models that are not leaving all the time and are not just saying, hey, I impregnated her, so be it. It's a toxin, and if we don't address that as the root cause, it's white supremacy, it's injustice, it's economics, we're dancing around the core of the issue.
I guess what I'm saying is, right, and you've perfectly actually laid out the dichotomy here. It is a fact, obviously, that black people disproportionately commit crime in this country. No one's arguing that. But you either believe that that is due to a complex intersection of social, economic, and like leftover effects from previous inequalities, or you believe that that is an inherent trait to the race.
No, I don't, because they weren't that way in the 1940s and 50s. Black America was one of the most peaceful, flourishing, fastest growing economically communities in the country. It's not genetic. You're trying to point something on me that I don't believe. Instead,
But then
Black
you do
America,
believe that it's
hold
not
on.
genetic, so you do think CRT is correct.
Hold on a second.
That's kind of what I'm getting at.
In the 1940s and 1950s, Black America was prosperous and was on pace to be richer and wealthier than white America. More dads were staying with the women that they were with. There was monogamy. What changed?
You're supporting my argument.
No, hold on. But answer the question. What changed? Did America get more racist since the 1950s?
I would argue there were more racist policies passed. There were more
Hold on a
policies
second.
dedicated
In
to
the
lining
in the
off those communities
1950s,
and pushing them into poor housing and poor schools.
Wait a second. In the 1950s, Jackie Robinson had not even broken the color barrier. We had Jim Crow laws. We hadn't passed the Civil Rights Act, and we hadn't passed the Voting Rights Act. Yet blacks were better in the 1950s per capita than they are today. So we have become less racist. We've passed more anti-racist laws and given more stuff, and blacks are worse than they were 70 years ago.
Yeah.
Why?
So you're equating here institutional and social racism. Social racism was certainly worse in the 1950s. I'm sure everyone would agree. But institutional racism occurs when policies are
Hold on.
passed against people,
Come on.
which can increase
You're-
over time, and it did.
You're not being intellectually honest. You know that. There was black-only drinking fountains in the 1950s. We don't have those anymore. Well, we're bringing them back with, black-only dormitories. But we had, for example, in the antebellum South in the 1950s, we had white-only communities. By law, we got rid of that with the Civil Rights Act. But it didn't.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we look around. The numbers speak for themselves. Black youth are less likely to have fathers. They're not doing as well as far as economically. They commit more crimes. So something changed. And our argument is what changed is three things. Number one, the imposition of the Great Society Project by Lyndon Baines Johnson of spending $30 trillion since 1960s on Section 8 housing, on welfare, on all sorts, where, as I said, that young black women married the government and they divorced young black men. And then we also have had as Thomas Sowell and as Clarence Thomas would say, the soft bigotry of low expectations.
Okay, so I think it's time for me to come in. I agree with the both parties. I get where the lady is coming from. She's saying when you keep on, depriving people of something, they will surely do something for themselves to, at least to make a living. And that is the truth. What I feel happened to the black community, because I feel as at then they had little or no privilege, so they had to make do with what they have. Stick to each other. Try to push. And now it seems like they've getting used to a certain lifestyle. Okay, even if the government have tried to subsidize things, make things a bit easy for them and stuff, most of them, if you check back then, they were not going to school simply because they had no opportunity. So a whole lot of them back then, they're in prison. Unlike the new black we have now that are striving to go to school, striving to live that mindset of, black being defined as, troublemakers and so many other things, you see. And when Charlie made mention of the fathers not around, the fathers were not around because majority of them were in prison. And that is the truth. Like, majority of them were in prison because they committed one thing or the other to provide for the family, and which I'm not in support of though. But that is a major reason why they were in prison. And I don't know the numbers of them that were in prison, but something led to them being in prison. And or not away from the family, because I don't think someone would want to give birth, and you get married to a certain lady and decide to divorce the lady simply because you are no longer interested in your children or interested in your family. No, there is something that is driving them away from the family. So that is what we need to look out for. And I think now you can see the difference. The difference is black are trying to fix that error, trying to fix the notion that, or the way they have been seen as, let's say, the problem of the society. And if you take example of Tupac music, when he sang about Dear Mama, you could see that at a very tender age, he was pushed to do things he wasn't proud of, because of like how the society is. Like, that is the perfect song to explain what black have been through. There is no means for them to, earn something tangible for a living. So they try to do other things, even if they are illegal. So even when the mother went beyond her means, just to provide for them, she even went to prison. But Tupac was there. He sang Dear Mama, I Appreciate, because he knows the sacrifice they've been through. Well, I know there is no way to justify crime, no matter what you've been through. The least option is for you to go into crime. Like, you are not even supposed to think about it. So that is where I agree with Charlie, because no matter how the situation gets, you need to just look for something, no matter how tangible it is, no matter how little it is, at least to fend for yourself. Going into crime is not the way about it. Anyway, let's continue.
And we have been afraid to get to the root of the issue or even speak about it because we don't want to be called a racist.
So what is imposing those low expectations?
Part of it is like white academic culture. I'll give you an example. I'm not saying you believe this, but Merrick Garland, the Attorney General of the United States, has come out and said having an ID to vote is racist. That is code for saying black people are too dumb to get a voter ID.
You're doing it again. You're simplifying a very nuanced, complex argument from the real people who are making it.
Is voter ID racist?
Obviously not, Charlie.
Okay, all right.
Do you want to know where the argument comes from? I can eloquently tell you.
Eloquently tell me why voter ID is racist or whatever.
Certain policies in southern states were proposed that would, I think the quote from the person who decided the case was with surgical precision, target the times where black people were voting and make it like illegal or harder for them to get that to come at that time. And then they were targeting the type of ID that black voters had and making that specific type of ID illegal. That is racist.
Perfectly fair. How does that impact today, saying that every citizen, if you need an ID to vote, just that aside, why is it racist?
Because we have to have, you know, obviously humans are making those decisions, right? And so if there is still institutional racism and people in power that are racist, we can't trust those institutions to make those decisions without
institutional
discriminating against
racism do we
people.
have in this country right now?
What you just named it.
What?
1350.
Okay, well, I mean,
affirmative action needs to happen because there is not that many minorities in these higher educations or higher education institutions.
okay, so you're being clear, which is then you lower standards.
No.
Affirmative
I don't
action
support
always
that.
does. Affirmative action lowers standards by definition.
I'm saying why affirmative action was introduced. I'm not arguing for it.
Were you asking me why it was introduced, or?
No, I'm saying you agree that's why it was introduced.
Well, I agree why it was. I don't think it ever should have been, but yes.
Right,
I mean,
but there is institutional inequality, yes?
well, I wouldn't even use the word inequality. I mean, I don't love looking at it that way, but of course, white people generally are richer than black people in this country.
Richer and more represented in politics and schools, yes?
Somewhat yes and
Why do you think
yes
that
and
is,
no.
Charlie?
Well, hold on a second. Let's ask the question here. Represented how? So I mean,
Look at Congressman.
So no, hold on a second. Are white people represented fairly in the National Basketball Association?
Who cares? What political
Hold on,
power
I
does
thought
the
we're all
national...
about fair representation.
Listen,
I think that it should, by law, half of the NBA should be white,
great, fine.
and the product would suck
Lobby for it.
because
I don't
blacks
care.
are much better at basketball than we whites are.
What political power does the NBA have?
A lot, actually. The NBA reaches millions of people every day. They have slogans that people internalize. In fact, if the NBA had no political power, why would they have to wear Black Lives Matter on all their jerseys? Why would politicians try to get their endorsements all the time? The NBA is more powerful than Congress in some ways of shaping the
I think
minds.
it's your turn to be academically dishonest
Hold on
now,
a second.
but
No,
sure.
no. But if you want fair representation, just to be clear, then why would you not be against whites by law being half of the National Basketball Association? Right now,
Sure.
black people make up 88% of the NBA.
Do it, great. Who cares?
No,
I don't care.
but-
I'm saying,
Okay.
right, so here's my point.
All right,
if we
fine.
have
I have a shot, everybody.
Please listen. If we...
I could play for the Lakers.
I hope... Do it, Charlie. I'll come to your games. I'll do it.
The point is this, is that merit should triumph over all
Which
of it.
is awesome. Okay, so merit should triumph. We agree.
Okay.
Okay, Charlie, do you think black people are not as smart or competent as
Absolutely
white
not.
people?
No.
Perfect. So they should, in theory, then be equally represented in positions of
but
power.
no, hold on. So, have you ever read Discrimination and Disparities by Thomas Sowell?
Do you only read Thomas Sowell? You've quoted him like 3 times. I haven't read that.
No, I read a lot more than Thomas Sowell, but I'm happy to. Thomas Sowell's the only intellectual with the courage to go after like these core issues of why Black America has fallen behind and why no one actually has studied it. So let's just give a great example. When you don't have a father in the home, the amount of words that a child hears goes down by 60 to 70%. The amount of words that a child, I don't know if you're a mother or not, or plan to be. Okay. No, just it's an important point. The amount of words that an 18-month-year-old hears is highly predictive of IQ, verbal development. Okay, so that's simple. When you don't have a dad in the home, the mom is overwhelmed and there's just less interaction with the child.
That's all fine.
Okay, so we agree. I'm just saying that's not because of
I think
racism.
that's true.
No,
Obviously,
that's
I'm not
fine.
saying that's good.
No, she, I know what you meant. But you have a father in the home. All of a sudden, they hear thousands of more words a day, and they're like way further ahead of a single mother raising a child. That's not racism.
Okay, so dads are good. Yes, great.
Okay.
My question to
I'm saying
you
dads
is,
actually answer most of the questions that you might have about why Black America is falling behind.
Okay, but
Because their dads don't stay around, and
I'm
that's
trying
bad.
to sort of get to
Go
you to
ahead.
reconcile your own beliefs. And if that's true, which is fine, that's true. We can say that's true. You either believe that has social and economic causes, or you believe that, black culture's just worse.
No,
and there
I
isn't
think
another
that
thing to think.
No, I
Those
was
are your
very
options.
clear. Right now, Black culture is being held captive by influences, songs,
Which
and role
influences?
models. I mean, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B.
Okay, Nicki Minaj is causing dads to leave the home.
Hold on a second. I don't think that's a good role model for 18-year-old Black girls. I don't.
That's true.
I don't
That's
think
true.
that songs that are talking about like glorifying wet female genitalia is exactly, I don't know which one wrote that song. Which one was it?
I think it was Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but but by the way, the role models of the 1940s and 50s for Black America were completely different.
So it is a representation issue.
Hold on a second. No, not representation. It's who do you get your art from? It's what values are they putting forward? It's the question of every day. For example, more times than not, Black politicians will lament the condition of America. It's systemically racist. It's terrible. What does that do to a 14-year-old Black kid if you just find that you hear that everything is rigged against you? Instead, they should be saying, hey, there might be some barriers, but if you believe in yourself enough, you can achieve in this country. It creates a form of social conditioning of low expectations, and that's not my argument. You know whose argument that is? Barack Obama's.
I don't necessarily agree with everything you said either, man.
Barack Obama said, number one, we need more fathers in the home. This is when Barack Obama didn't go super woke.
Barack Obama's a liberal. I don't care what he's got to say.
Okay, but Barack Obama then secondly, he said that we can't keep telling our Black youth that you can't succeed in this country. Anybody can succeed in this country. And Obama was right when he said that. Obama was correct when he said that we need to change the story we're telling Black America.
Which is fine. I've never heard any teacher look at a Black person and say, oh, you can't succeed because of racism.
Hold on a second.
Though.
But what is the embedded message of all the propaganda saying it's systemically racist, you're going to run into racist employers, that they're going to discriminate against you? It creates this heaviness of why even try?
By the time college students get to college, they've experienced all that. They don't need to be told.
That's true.
You think that the average? I'm curious. You think that the average Black student at this university experiences like active daily racism? I'd be curious.
I'd have to ask. You can ask them to
I
raise
don't know.
their hands
I don't know. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's as bad as it was in the antebellum South. So
I'm not saying that, obviously.
Okay.
I did say social racism improved. I'm saying institutional
clear.
racism is still present, and that's what's causing lower outcomes for minority communities.
Do you think the reason why only 20 to 25%, it depends, we don't know the number, it's just a range per year.
Sure.
So 1 in 4 of Black youth have a stable father around. What would you just say is the big, why is that the reason?
A complex intersection of social and economic reasons, which are outlined in CRT.
Okay. Thank you for the dialogue. Thank you.
Okay.
Wow, guys. I feel this lady wasn't ready to back down. Like, she was ready to keep on with the debate. You know, you bring your points, I bring my points, and we continue. And I feel they are both making sense, because Charlie is insisting that the reason why we have high crime rates in Black communities because of no father presence, and the lady is insisting no, it is, now institutional racism. Like, kind of, it is there now. Unlike social racism is dropping. Like, no one wants to call you or call you a Negro or call you anything bad to make you feel like a racist. But institutional racism is there. They are trying to, deprive Black of what they can do. But to that, I don't really believe, because I feel like Black have been given more opportunity to go to school. They have been given, you have to get not like the normal grade to be in the university. And as far as you're qualified for a job, I don't think anyone will make you feel like you're a Black person, so I'm not going to employ you. So I feel that institutional racism is dying, because now everyone, so long as you're qualified, you're being given the job. It does not matter the color of your skin. Unlike back then, back then it was like very, very like bad. Like, kind of, they don't want to sit down with you. They don't want to associate with you. They don't want to do anything with you because of the color of your skin. And I get their point, because they are not used to seeing people like us. And now it is changing. It is drastically changing, and we are being given this equal opportunity, and I love that, And one thing we need to do is, if you are out there, you're a role model, you're people they look up to, please try and portray something good, because especially when it comes to our entertainment industry, not entertainment per se, our musical industry, I feel they're not doing a good job. I know they have their audience, they have who they are selling to, but you are making it look like they are increasing the high rate of single motherhood, because you feel like, yes, this this confidence as a lady, you can do it on your own. You don't need a man around. You don't need this. You bring that like supremacy. You feel like, yes, you can handle everything yourself. Now you are making it worse for the Black community, because the ladies don't want the men around anymore. They feel like, yes, they can do it on their own because of what they are feeding, what they are hearing, and it's becoming worse and worse. So now, if you're out there and you feel like you're a public figure, at least pick something positive. I remember Cardi B's song when she said, I don't cook, I don't clean. Like, the day I saw her video trending online when she was sweeping the house, I was like, you see, most of this thing is just, for publicity stunts, and it's not like they don't practice it. But after saying all this, your audience like take it personal. They portray this in their everyday lifestyle, and it causes high rate of divorce, because when you start doing certain things that your partner does not agree with, it will surely lead to divorce. And that is it. So whatever you are bringing out there for the audience, let it be worth it. Let it be something that you're proud of. Let it be something that when your children will see it in the next 30 years, they will feel like, yeah, that's my mom. Okay, you don't go out there and shake your butt around on the screen then expect your children to be proud of you when they grow up. No, it shows, yeah, I know for now this is what is bringing the money, that is what is giving you, that is a source of income. But there are ways to pass on good message, you see, because I see ladies, especially in Africa, because that is where I'm staying. I see them like portraying the lifestyle of these ladies. Now they dress half naked, leaving the house. They do what they want to do because their role model is doing it, and it's not fair. Ladies are more prone to rape. So why then do you encourage them to put on outfits that are so revealing? It's like you're making them super proud of their body, but at what cost? To me, I feel it's not fair. So let's know what we pass out there. And I'm not saying this just only to the female, musicians. There are male musicians, male black musicians that are not doing a very good job. They just come there and sing, trash. Yeah, sorry for the word. But I think I've seen singers like Das, like other male musicians that are doing a very good job, way more than the female musician. That is why I'm pointing my argument at the female musician. But please, if you have this mindset of not being able to take correction or being able to be tactful, don't go into marriage. If you're not ready to take like others, don't go into marriage. I'm not saying just for female, I'm saying both female and male. If you're not ready to submit, don't go into marriage. Let's try our best to reduce this single motherhood, because the lady will not run away from her child. She will be there to take care of her child. So it's the male I'm talking about. If you're not ready, just save this woman the stress. Okay, let's produce good quality children. We can do it. We can correct it. Like, if you are not even ready to stay around, don't bring children to this world. They are selling condom everywhere. You can wear one and save yourself the stress. Save yourself from punishing, your future generation. Anyway, this is a beautiful one. I enjoyed this 2 dialogue, and I want to see more videos like this. If you have any recommendation, let me know in the comment section. If it is the first time visiting the channel, click on the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and remember bless.